Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Cuando cumples 45, te toca soplar muchas velas y examinarte contra el cáncer de colon. Usa la prueba de Cologuard Plus en la privacidad de tu casa y envíala de regreso para obtener tus resultados. Los productos Cologuard están indicados para la detección en adultos de 45 años o más con riesgo promedio de cáncer colorectal, solo con receta médica. Visita Cologuard.com para más información. Pide la prueba de Cologuard Plus a tu médico. Para más información en español, visita Cologuard.com/prueba.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7.
I'm Kira Revens in for Jamie East this week, and on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we take a deep dive into the Atlantic, count up Britain's butterflies, and puzzle over a shark mystery. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, introduces us to AI work slop and tells us why you shouldn't ask ChatGPT for medical advice. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started, though, it was on this day in 2021 that NASA achieved first with the flight of the experimental helicopter Ingenuity on Mars. The helicopter hovered for 39 seconds, but that is regarded as equally historic as the first Wright brothers flight way back in 1903 on planet Earth. In fact, a scrap of fabric from that first Wright brothers plane, Flyer 1, was built in to NASA's Mars copter. New research published this week in the journal Science Advances is sounding alarm bells about a critical part of our climate system, the AMOC, or Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. That's a key current that regulates temperatures for Europe, Africa and the Americas, and the new analysis suggests that the risk of it collapsing has risen substantially. That could have catastrophic consequences for weather systems, bringing bitter cold to European winters and potential droughts in summer. The findings are based on new modelling and depend on research data from various countries, including the UK. In March, the National Oceanography Centre carried out deep-sea research on climate change, and Dr. Ben Moat, who was the chief expedition scientist, told Channel 4 News that any change in the current is hugely significant.
What is predicted to happen from these big mathematical climate models is that we would get a broad-scale cooling in the atmosphere in the Northern Hemisphere. It means that basically we'll get very, very cold winters. So we would have stresses on our crops, on our agriculture, and basically on our health as well as a society.
Scientists now know that the AMOC has collapsed previously and have been warning since 2021 that we're approaching a tipping point caused by global warming that could lead to a total collapse by 2100. Dr. Tillys Petit was part of the expedition and is a research scientist specialising in physical oceanography, and she says the data is clear.
What we can say from the 20 years of observations that we have for now is that this AMOC has a slight declining trend. It's become weaker with time already, but we need more observation to have a better certainty on this trend.
The concern is that a crucial tipping point may already have passed in Antarctica as climate change has accelerated the melting of the ice cap. Ariaan is a lecturer in the School of Earth, Atmosphere and Environment at Australia's Monash University, and she explains how the AMOC system works and why sea ice is crucial.
Extra salty brine is actually rejected from the bottom of the sea ice when the sea ice is freezing, and this really dense, heavy water, it circulates around the shelf around Antarctica, and some of it sinks into the deep ocean, and it forms this deep ocean circulation. And this is really important for the global ocean circulation, how the oceans distribute oxygen and nutrients and uptake heat and carbon. And so sea ice is important in this ocean functioning, which is also important for our global climate. When sea ice is absent, waves, they break on the ice shelves, and they can break up the ice shelves faster than they otherwise would. Once we have these ice shelves collapsing, this means that the Antarctic ice sheet, the ice that sits that's on the continent can slide into the oceans faster, and this will raise global sea levels.
Climate change skeptics like US President Donald Trump refuse to believe that the world is approaching a tipping point. Instead, America has been busy unwinding commitments to green energy and reducing climate's emissions. Edward Doddridge is a research fellow in physical oceanography at the Institute for Marine and Antarctic Studies in Tasmania, and he's been crunching the numbers and says there's no doubt that climate change is behind the massive loss of polar ice.
It got to 7 standard deviations. At that point, it's just dumb, right? If you do the numbers, it's 1 in 700 billion. So it has gone low and it has stayed ridiculously low. Which, 4 years in, it's kind of hard to say it's a blip, right? This looks like the change is here to stay.
Nerilie Abrams is a professor at the New Research School of Earth Sciences at the Australian National University in Canberra. She says the massive loss of ice from the Antarctic is not something that can be undone.
Once you put heat into the ocean, it's really difficult to get that heat out. The ocean holds onto it, and the ocean is going to continue to take up heat. And so because of that, our understanding of that process and that mechanism, I don't see a way that the Antarctic sea ice is going to bounce back from that.
It's that time of the week when we scroll through some of the biggest stories in tech and increasingly the biggest stories in AI with the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. So, well, it's been another week of AI dominating headlines with some strange and alarming tales emerging as it seems the world is going all in on AI. Let's start with a first-time visitor to the world of tech updates, Reese Witherspoon. What is she up to with AI?
She's been encouraging her almost 31 million followers on Instagram to start learning about artificial intelligence and using it in their daily lives and jobs. It's becoming a more common thing for Reese, who previously said she was becoming familiar with AI tools in her own life. She's been pointing out that jobs held by women are 3 times more likely to be automated by AI, but women are using it at a rate 25% lower than men, and she said her followers should learn with her.
Does she have a point? She's had some backlash for suggesting it.
She does have a point, and wasn't it Shakira that once sung that stats don't lie? And if somebody has 30 million followers and they start discussing it with them, that has to be good, right? Because the impact of AI is happening regardless of whether Reese posts on Insta or just chooses to make millions more from a movie instead. Now, there have been some suggestions that she shouldn't be encouraging her followers to get involved in AI because of the impact on jobs and the effect of data centers on the environment. And there's also been suggestions that Reese might be pimping an AI training service or new business coming soon too. The world is just far too cynical these days.
We also learned this week that while we might love Googling our symptoms, asking ChatGPT about medical issues might not be the best idea.
In some ways, AI is already transforming the world of healthcare, improving detection of heart conditions and cancers for experts, but when it comes to you asking a chatbot for medical advice, it's definitely no better than Dr. Google right now. In some US research, AI is getting early diagnosis wrong around 80% of the time, and that's the average across around 20 of the biggest large language models, so ChatGPT, Claude, all of the others that you might be using, which is somewhat at odds with the suggestion from some quarters that you could now upload a picture of a mole from your face to check whether it's showing early signs of skin cancer. The researchers who spoke to tech publication The Register said about their research that early detection was the stage where uncertainty matters the most, and it's where systems are weakest. And you can add that to the growing real-world list of AI not being quite ready.
And The Guardian introduced us to a new term. What is work slop?
It's not a town in Nottinghamshire, but it's the unintended consequence of AI in the workplace. When we use AI quickly to generate work that appears polished on the surface, but is so inaccurate or badly constructed that it needs a load of work once you've handed it over to your colleagues. This seems to be happening in almost every office across the country, and now we've got a name for it.
There seems to be 2 very different views of AI in the workplace, isn't there? The board level optimism and the worker level pessimism.
Yeah, that's very real. And over in the US again, another survey with 5,000 office workers said that 40% of non-managers believe that AI saves them no time at work, while 92% of bosses says it's making them more productive. And that's quite a large gulf. The reality is that eventually, after all the hype dies down, the impact of AI on our lives will sit somewhere between these 2 realities, incredibly useful for some stuff and nowhere near as useful for other parts of our work as we've been led to believe.
And for the pessimists, you think you've found the indicator that the AI bubble might be about to burst.
The hype train around AI is so real right now that a failed shoe company has just announced a rather unpredicted pivot into the world of AI and saw its share price rise by 582% in a single day. Allbirds, a business that created dull but Instagram-friendly shoes, said it was moving into the AI compute business and getting rid of its shoes entirely. Essentially, it's dumping your dApps and building a data center. It's all for these places that need what they call AI compute. It's a bit like the Smart 7 pivoting to open a home for retired greyhounds, which gives me a really good idea. Now, where's Liam's phone number?
Still to come on the Sunday 7, in association with Metro, NASA unpacks the Artemis mission and we meet a high-end green machine. NASA's Artemis 2 mission has really captured the public imagination, which is good news for the space agency as it embarks on a 10-year plan which should see a lunar base built by 2036. The new focus on the moon seems to have resonated with a global audience too, and the Artemis mission's loop of the moon, including the chance to see the dark side, has definitely sparked massive interest. A key part of the mission was for the astronauts to capture high-quality video and photo images of the previously undocumented lunar surface, and that's why the 4-person crew got intensive training before they boarded the Ariaan craft. Peter Reichert is one of the specialist photography trainers who worked with the NASA Artemis crew before they left Earth so that they'd be able to capture the detail of the dark side.
When they first become an astronaut candidate, we give them about 4 to 6 hours of camera training to kind of bring them to a basic level. And then, depending on what they do for the next few years before they get assigned, they may have some classes. They can check out cameras and take them home. But once they get assigned, we have about 10 classes that we give them, so about 20 hours-ish. You know, you go into these missions and you don't really know exactly what you're going to see. We train the crew up to a certain level and we train them to be able to solve problems, but really what they did was really exceeded my expectations by quite a bit.
Katrina Willoughby is another of what NASA calls the flight operations imagery instructors who worked with the crew, and she was the one who selected the right cameras and kit and was equally important, as well as the need for some patience back at mission control.
They wanted something that would be in their hand that they could use and they could take out. There's another nice one that is nice, that it fits in your pocket, that it fits nearby and you can take out and use when it's there. A couple of the downsides, it makes really big files. So one thing we do have to think about on board is what does it take to get files down? And unfortunately, we don't have bandwidth, and that's something a lot of people down here are really used to, instantly having everything, and the idea that we had to wait to get pictures back and we had to wait to get things back because we don't have the bandwidth is surprising to people.
The crew themselves at a press conference on Thursday as they looked back at the mission, and in particular the moment where they entered radio silence as they orbited the far side of the moon, the furthest from Earth that any human has been. Canadian crew member Jeremy Hansen says it was a profound feeling.
We're all kind of struck by these things that make us feel small, and that the sense I had was this sense of fragility and feeling small, infinitesimally small, but yet this very powerful feeling as a human being, like as a group. And that is what, to me, is what I would try to share. I saw it in all these sites over and over again. I kept seeing that same thing and that same feeling. Small and powerless, but yet powerful together.
Rolls-Royce isn't necessarily the first car brand you'd think of when you think about electric cars, but they're just about to launch an extremely high-end convertible model, which is entirely electric-powered. The new car, which is codenamed Project Nightingale, has been in development for some time, and it's a very distinctive-looking vehicle. Rolls-Royce are planning to make only 100 of the vehicles and have been working with future owners for a number of years. Chris Brownbridge is the CEO of Rolls-Royce, and while he was slow to talk about the price of the car, which is definitely in the multi-million-dollar bracket, he was happy to talk about how they made an electric Rolls-Royce.
We had a challenge about 5-6 years ago. How do we prepare ourselves for the future? Can we build a motor car that uses a different powertrain, which is still an authentic Rolls-Royce? And our engineers worked tirelessly, and in 2023 we launched Spectre, and I think we've made the point. The Spectre Rolls-Royce is a remarkable motor car. It embodies all of the facets you'd expect of a Rolls-Royce. Silence, ease of driving, endless power, and of course the magic carpet ride. So when we look at how many client deliveries we've had of Spectre so far, compared to Wraith, which is the previous super luxury coupe that Rolls-Royce offered, they're pretty much identical. So Spectre's been a great success for us. But when we were working on Project Nightingale, it was the obvious choice. Can you imagine driving such an elaborate and extravagant motor car in complete silence? Absolutely no mechanical noise with the roof down. It's remarkable. I can't wait for our clients to experience it.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, we investigate some shark mysteries and count up Britain's butterflies.
Right after this. Cuando cumples 45, te toca soplar muchas velas y examinarte contra el cáncer de colon. Usa la prueba de Cologuard Plus en la privacidad de tu casa y envíala de regreso para obtener tus resultados. Los productos Cologuard están indicados para la detección en adultos de 45 años o más con riesgo promedio de cáncer colorectal, solo con receta médica. Visita cologuard.com para más información. Pide la prueba de Cologuard Plus a tu médico. Para más información en español, visita cologuard.com/prueba.
Have you ever been stuck on a weight loss plateau? Trying everything and anything you can to lose that extra weight and reach peak health? We've all been there, but Noom's unlocked the secret to reaching the mountaintop. Go in micro. The Noom GLP-1 microdose program starts at $99 and is delivered to your door in 7 days. Start your microdose GLP-1 journey today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. Noom. Micro changes, big results. Noom GLP-1 RX program involves healthy diet, exercise, and support. Individual results may vary. Meds and personalization based on clinical need. Not reviewed by FDA for safety, efficacy, or quality. No affiliation with Novo Nordisk Inc., the only U.S. source of FDA-approved semaglutide. Not available in all 50 U.S. states.
Welcome back.
We heard earlier about Reese Witherspoon urging her followers to get more involved with AI, and there's definitely a sense that the technology is accelerating into the real world. We've seen AI-powered robots dancing, running marathons, and Google's latest integration with Boston Dynamics showed those scary dog robots tidying up your shoes. It's a strange new world, but how far can it go? In California, the team at Andon Labs built an AI agent called Luna and let it set up and open a shop. The shop in San Francisco's Cow Hollow district is called the Andon Market, and every detail of it is set up and was done by Luna. The store has human staff, but they were hired by Luna, although she did forget to roster any staff for opening day. Lucas Peterson and Axel Buckland of Andon Labs explains what they've discovered from giving AI more autonomy.
She wrote a job listing before we asked her to. She was 3 hours old at this time. She listed merch discount as the employee benefits package. She ordered $700 of gallery prints of her own AI-generated art.
So why are we doing this? We're not doing it to prove that AIs should run stores, but we're doing it to find out if they can and what ethical considerations arise when they do, like, for example, hiring humans.
Well, that sounds relatively harmless. OpenAI's founder Sam Altman has been warning that smarter, faster AI could lead to all kinds of new threats, including the risk of terrorists using it to develop a new bioweapon.
I suspect in the next year, we will see significant threats we have to mitigate from cyber. And these models are already quite capable and will get much more capable. And then on bio, the models are clearly going to get very good at helping people do biology at an advanced level. Wonderful things are going to happen there. We'll see a bunch of diseases get cured. Someone is going to try to misuse those. And for now, when the frontier models are all sort of in the hands of pretty responsible companies, I think we can mitigate those by the companies aligning the models and having good classifiers and good safety stacks. But we're not that far away from a world where there are incredibly capable open source models that are very good at biology, and the need for society to be resilient to terrorist groups using these models to try to create novel pathogens, that's no longer a theoretical thing, or it's not going to be for much longer.
We've a few weeks to go until the Discovery Channel launches this year's Shark Week. It's in July, if you're wondering. But there's a mystery that's been puzzling conservationists and marine biologists in South Africa. great white sharks have basically disappeared from a traditional hunting ground, Cape Town, in South Africa. While that might be good news for tourists and nervous swimmers, it's a mystery that's causing real concern among scientists. One theory is that local orcas or killer whales have developed a technique for killing the former apex predator, but it's not clear if that is new behaviour or enough to scare the great whites away. Enrico Gennari is an Italian marine biologist who has been studying sharks in South Africa for 20 years, and his theory is that the uptick in human activities like commercial fishing is responsible for scaring the sharks away.
The question is not the orcas are pushing white shark away. Same thing happened in California, same thing happened in Australia. The question here in South Africa, why they're not coming back? Up to 9 months the white shark left, but they always come back.
There's another shark mystery this week too, and that's the question of what happened to a Greenland shark which was found washed up on the west coast of Ireland. The Greenland shark can live for up to 500 years, and Amy Gegarty, who is an aquatic zoology curator at the National Museum of Ireland, says investigations into what happened are ongoing.
We're liaising and collaborating with researchers, other bodies to try and get an age or information on it. I have weights and lengths on it, but in terms of like genetics or lab work, we're coordinating to get that done. You have to look at the islands, and you can have carbon-14 dating. The oldest was a female over 400 years. So we have the length of it, we don't have the age yet. So it was over 3 meters and it was over 200 kilos, which is quite a size for that shark.
Summer is a time for butterflies. We're used to seeing them fluttering around the garden or through meadows gathering pollen, but the latest UK butterfly survey shows that many of the most distinctive UK butterflies seem to be in decline. The UK Butterfly Monitoring Scheme, which has been running for 50 years, gathers data from hundreds of thousands of volunteer surveys that shows that of the 59 native UK species, 33 have declined. 25 have improved, and species like red admirals and common butterflies seem to be thriving, while the black hairstreak, which was on the brink of extinction, has recovered thanks to conservation efforts. Professor Richard Fox, the head of the UK Butterfly Monitoring Scheme, says that there's a real cause for concern in the data.
What we're losing is the diversity. So the species that we're losing, and some of these declines are huge. You know, the Heath fritillary, for example, 88% decline. Pearl-bordered fritillary, 70% decline. They're enormous losses, and it's that diversity, that sort of nuance and subtlety that we're losing from our landscape. The main reason that we're losing these habitat specialists, these butterflies that need special habitats like flower-rich grasslands or woodland glades over the last 50 years, is the way that we humans manage the landscape. It's not about climate change for those species. It's the way that we've simplified, damaged, destroyed the habitats where they traditionally lived.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Cuando cumples 45, te toca soplar muchas velas y examinarte contra el cáncer de colon. Usa la prueba de Cologuard Plus en la privacidad de tu casa y envíala de regreso para obtener tus resultados. Los productos Cologuard están indicados para la detección en adultos de 45 años o más con riesgo promedio de cáncer colorectal, solo con receta médica. Visita Cologuard.com para más información. Pide la prueba de Cologuard Plus a tu médico. Para más información en español, visita Cologuard.com/prueba.